Well, it's finally happening. I guess we are going to see America torn apart in the next couple months. You can see all the players lining up. The rhetoric is in full force, and the majority of Americans are hunkering down for the big day. The big question that fills my mind is, when the election is over, will America be a better nation than it is now? Well, I see two outcomes. If the Democrats win, then we can be sure that all the rioting will stop. With the use of fear and intimidation, they will have gotten what they wanted. Then if the 78-year-old Biden does not finish out his term, America will have the near 60-year-old Kamala Harris, a woman of color and a bona fide liberal socialist from California, as the president of the United States. That, I believe, would be very unfortunate for America. When she was the district attorney for the San Francisco, and later as the senator from California, Harris made it quite clear that she is not at all concerned about the Constitution. So I can see no reason that she won't, as quickly as possible, appoint liberal justices to the Supreme Court. And as quickly as is convenient, I can see Kamala Harris replace the Constitution with some form of international law. The liberals will, of course, argue that this brings us in alignment with Canada and Europe. And what actually can we expect? Perhaps you remember in the debates leading up to the primaries that Biden chastised Harris when she said that she would impose what is called draconian gun control by executive fiat if Congress failed to pass stringent gun controls in her first 100 days. When confronted by the fact that the Constitution prohibits such an action, she basically laughed it off. Which means I'm afraid that we could soon have an America where there will only be two groups of people who have guns. The first group is the terrorists and the criminals who don't care at all about the law. And then second, those who are authorized by the state to carry guns for crowd control. I also predict that we will see the Christian church attacked even more than it is today. You know, in Canada, preaching the Bible can be considered hate speech, and people are arrested and jailed for such actions even today. Without the protection of the all-powerful United States Constitution, I see no reason why America won't be facing the same fate. But if the Republicans win, then I fear rioting and violence will only get worse. At one time, the Democrats had the KKK. Today, the left has Antifa. Similar to the Nazi brown shirts who used intimidation and violence to create fear in those opposed to the party line, Antifa today, funded by unknown persons, operates under a belief that violence, yes, violence, is justified to achieve their goals. Now, I know that we're told that it's all about Black Lives Matter. Well, I think that's a lie, because the only reason that Black lives would even matter is if it achieves a political goal. I mean, if Black lives really, really mattered, why wouldn't there be concern for all of the Black women who are more than twice as likely to be killed by an intimate partner than the white women are? And what about the fact that Black women are more than twice as likely to have been raped during their lifetime? How's that for Black Lives Mattering? But perhaps most disturbing is the number of Black children who are never even allowed to see life. In 2016, New York had more children aborted then we're born, and it has been stated that the leading cause, the leading killer of Black Americans, with over 250,000 of us being killed every year, is abortion. And since 70% of all Black children are born to single mothers, it is easy to understand why the 2010 census found that 79% of Planned Parenthood's abortion clinics were within walking distance of Black American and Hispanic communities. And will someone tell me how a few dozen Black men engaged in possible criminal activity who refuse to obey a lawful command from a police officer, will someone tell me how these people represent the whole Black race in America? Well, I personally don't think that they do. According to the census, over 4.5 million Black Americans actually have a college degree, and I'm one of them. Black incomes continue to rise. And while the disparity between Black and white still exists, the research shows a surprising reason. And it's not because of white Americans that disparity exists. White Americans think well of Black Americans, but what do Black Americans think about themselves? That is the sticking point. We know, and the research consistently shows, that there is a simple formula for being able to live a decent life in America. You get yourself an education, you get yourself a job, get married, and raise a family. And this is true for every color. It's true for every race. It's true for everybody in America. So what is this ghetto mentality that tells a child who wants to get an education that somehow they're not Black enough? Tells them that they're not being true to their Black identity if they leave the ghetto. That's not my identity, nor the identity of the millions of other Black Americans who study and work and live to better themselves. I grew up in the Jim Crow South. I attended all Black schools, elementary and high school. I sat in the colored section in the movie theaters, the colored section in the restaurant. Went to an all Black church. And I never even thought about going to one of those restrooms that had the white only sign above it. But my ancestors and the civil rights movement struggled to end the injustices of the past. And we've seen radical changes in America over the last 70 years. But now they're trying to tell us that nothing has changed and expect us to believe it. Well, we know that's a lie. But why does the rhetoric continue? What do they have to gain by tearing America down instead of looking for ways to help America be a better place to live for everyone? Well, I'll discuss that next time. But as for America becoming a socialist nation, which I must mention, I will conclude with this statement. There is not a single socialist country anywhere on this or any other planet, now or in the past, that I would rather live in. America is a great country, and we can either tear it down or build it up, and it really is, believe it or not, our choice.